Hello friends, news from Poland, each one better than the last. While we were talking about lofty matters in the virtual space, a real conveyor belt for producing hatred is being assembled for mere pennies. And it would be fine if all this stayed online, but no. The digital frenzy is fully materializing on the streets of Poland's beautiful cities in the form of actual beatings, and quite painful ones at that. In this video, we'll talk about how a cheap bot from Asia turns an ordinary person into an aggressive animal. Please, nevertheless, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Friends, thanks to everyone who likes in support of aerodynamics and the working class. Check your notification bell if you know what I mean. Now let's get down to business. The first part is what caught my attention. Let's start with what's happening on Earth, right? Because it's more visual that way. On July 4th in the city of Wrocław, a beautiful city, the picturesque Slodowy Island. 8 p.m., so it's still light, crowded, and decent people are out for a walk. A young man, 19 years old, a young guy named Vladimir, is peacefully talking on the phone with his parents. As you can guess, he's speaking in Ukrainian. Two questions immediately arise. Why isn't he at the front if he's a patriot? Share your thoughts in the comments. Here's the second question. Who gave him permission to speak Ukrainian in Poland? Please tell me. As you understand, this is sarcasm. What happens next? Next, a peer approaches him and in refined language demands that he hand over his electronic cigarette. Getting the expected refusal, he asks, "Who are you anyway?" The character whistles theatrically, a group of about 10 people gathers and they just start beating the guy to a pulp. They pulled his t-shirt over his head so he couldn't see anything and methodically kicked him. As a result, the guy, Vladimir Slovakov, ended up with a nose broken in 2 places, a damaged spine, and a lot of blood. Well, and these guys, who are definitely not our friends, find it very funny because look how well we beat up the Ukrainian. An important detail, at first the police classified this as a fight. So you see, legally, do you understand the difference between a fight and a beating? A fight is mutual fun for young people. Only after an official statement and medical exam did everyone realize what happened. They had simply beaten the guy half to death. He was beaten badly, lynched for his language. Unfortunately, this isn't an isolated incident. Let's see, by the way, how this will end, because all of this is drawing unusual attention. Although, what kind of public reaction is that really? My God, if no one was put in jail, no one even got a slap on the wrist. What kind of resonance is that? The civic organization Citizens of the Republic of Poland are raising concerns and publishing an open letter to Prime Minister Tusk and Minister of Internal Affairs Kerwinski. Citizens are demanding to finally put an end to this street terror, because the list of recent feats, and I put that in quotes, looks like a chronicle of a frontline zone. It seems to me that there is less news coming from the front, from under Konstantinówka, than from Poland. In Łódź, a Ukrainian woman was attacked, and when the girl fought back, they shot at her with an air gun. In Gliwice, a man was beaten with a baseball bat, accompanied, of course, by national insults. Get the hell out of Poland! What made him think he could walk around our beautiful streets? In Warsaw, some teenagers are maiming their peers. And here's the cherry on top. In Warsaw, they are smashing up the creative lab La Strong, where they used to help everyone. First, people from the Volyn Memorial March came there and threatened to burn everyone so that no one would dare again. And then they partially fulfilled their promise, both digitally and physically. That's how it is, friends. This is just what I come across. I don't seek out this news. It got to the point where the Internal Security Agency detained 4 citizens who were actually making real bombs for terrorist attacks against national minorities. Everything is heading in that direction. You may ask, my dear viewer, how did such confusion form in the minds of young and not so young people that they just attack others like wild animals? And now we move on to the second, more interesting part of our little farce. Many of these street exploits originate from our beloved internet. The other day, on Radio Krakow, experts, analysts, and members of the Demagogue Association and the University of Science and Technology broke down exactly how an average, seemingly not so dumb person is turned into a complete idiot. Do you think the anti-Ukrainian wave online is truly a genuine public outburst? Not at all. According to calculations by the Institute for Media Monitoring, the advertising equivalent of just the anti-Ukrainian posts in the Polish segment over the course of a year amounted to almost 190 million zlotys. This isn't a spontaneous protest, it's a huge, well-oiled and very profitable market, because Russia itself said, we poured $2 billion into the information campaign. Who do you think this campaign is aimed at? And some of it has reached Poland, right? Moreover, the technologies used there are quite advanced. A full-blown international operation and the triumph of artificial intelligence. How does this scheme work? First, cheap bot farms. As part of the experiment, it turned out that for just 250 euros, that's 1,000 zlotys, you can buy a ton of views and thousands of comments on the black market. Today, these bots, controlled from somewhere in Southeast Asia, are spreading fake stories about Tusk's fights, and just a few hours later, about how Ukrainians are selling ambulances that were donated to them. Do you remember that? Here's another interesting point. Recycling old lies. Why should we come up with something new if the old stuff still works? In June, the internet was once again flooded with the story about how Ukrainians, oh no, such bad people, put up for auction an ambulance that was donated by the city of Hajnika. This nonsense was already checked at the beginning of 2025. The vehicle was privately owned, bought legally, and went where it was supposed to. But no. The topic was brought up again because it perfectly hits the right emotion. Here we are giving them everything, and they are so ungrateful, making a profit. Logic just goes out the window. Critical thinking wasn't engaged. All that's left is so-called righteous anger. The third point, information smog and taking things out of context, right? That's also an interesting indicator. You open an image editor and draw a picture. Zelensky returned the order of the White Eagle by mail, cash on delivery. The average person doesn't read past the picture, doesn't check the text inside, and immediately reposts it. Or they grab an interview with journalist Arleta Boyki. They carefully cut out the part where she quotes a fake, but her own warning that the source is some kind of trash is removed. Done. Strategic disinformation in action. And let's say 1,000 people with right-wing views watch these kinds of videos and say, what's going on here? Yes, Poland, yes, they're robbing us, our taxes, our payments, Ukrainians, banderites. Out of 1,000 people, there will be 10 who will actually pick up a bat and go hit someone over the head. Nationwide fake stories don't work well, so disinformers target local areas. In Krakow, an activist from the Young Crown takes a picture of an intercom with Ukrainian inscriptions and shouts, aha, they're secretly making Polish passports for illegals here. And the fact that this is an integration center that was closed in 2022, where they simply taught Polish, well, who cares about that? The main thing here is just to scare everyone, to stir things up, obviously not with good intentions, but so that someone, God forbid, gets beaten up, and maybe someone else is even maimed as a result of such actions. Ah, where is the management looking, my dear, and what should be done about it? And as usual, the authorities are playing their own political games and sometimes adds fuel to the fire. And sometimes it's not even just oil, but gasoline. On one hand, the officials themselves are fueling panic about the Migration Pact. On the other hand, Deputy Prime Minister Sinia Kamysz cheerfully reports that in 2026, but that's already an internal Polish remark, it doesn't concern Ukrainians. She says that in 2026, no one crossed the border legally at all. Citizens are watching closely. And the border guards, they say, see some numbers there, and they say, well, 0. And this number is a bit different. And they realize that the ministry, to put it mildly, is being dishonest. And they finally stop believing the official institutions. They completely fall into the arms of online manipulators. Like, look, the Crown Confederation, they always tell the truth. It's about the government, they're lying. And it creates an amazing paradox that Dr. Nowakowska-Gluszak talks about. People look around in real life, everything seems quiet, peaceful, birds are singing, yeah. Then they open their phone and it's chaos. Fascists, banderites. And a person prefers to believe not their own eyes, but the smartphone screen. Ah, friends, what about digital hygiene, right? Use your head, turn off your emotions, turn on critical thinking. If a news story makes you so angry that you want to punch someone, well, I think you've become a victim of manipulation. Take a deep breath, check your sources. If a sensational story is coming from a single shady account on Twitter, X, or TikTok, it's 100% nonsense. Separate facts and opinions from verbal fluff. That's not statistics at all. The main rule is don't spread it further. No, you can repost my videos, yes, because I kind of have all the proofs. The best way to squash a bot network is not to hit the share button. Break these chains like, oh, some Ukrainians beat someone up. If it's a police report, okay. If it's just an emotional outcry of Banderites, then don't. Don't. At least your karma will be a little cleaner. Friends, think for yourselves. Don't let a bot for 250 euros decide whom you should hate on the streets of your own city. This is for you, my dear Polish friends. Although some of you watch till the end, some of you understand the Russian language, yes. Because Ukrainians, well, it happens, of course, yes. By the way, I actually conducted a study in Belsk. Some underage degenerates, some Poles at night, he made a remark to them like, guys, don't make noise. And the guys punched him in the face. A crime? Well, yes, I agree, it's very wrong. The crime must be punished. Poles. It just spread all over social media. I'm also subscribed to some groups from Belsk. Like I said, well, wait a minute, I tried to butt in. I'm telling you, I read so much about myself there. And the nicest thing they called me was, Banderite, get lost. Why aren't you at the front? Who allowed you to breathe our beautiful air? So I wrote as politely as possible. Dear Poles, we condemn this kind of behavior. This is not Ukrainian society. This is just the dregs of Ukrainian society. I provided statistics. More than 15,000 Ukrainians live in Bielsko-Biała and the surrounding area, right? Give or take. And the crime rate among them, in fact, among all foreigners, is 0.67. Do you understand the scale of banderism in Poland? Do you think I even... Well, no. Okay, fine. Reasonable people read it too. Well, it seems so, yeah. Makes sense. The guy's making sense. But you have no idea how much hate I got there. Honestly, you better not know. Because, you know, I have pretty thick skin over there. Well, not everyone has that. Well, all right. On the one hand, I'd like to say, friends, it's always darkest before the dawn. On the other hand, I'm a grown man. I understand that this is just the beginning. Just the beginning. And the real trouble, unfortunately, is still ahead. We'll have to deal with it later. And even though, you know, I've lived in Poland for 11 years, I've never seen any Ukrainians do that. And let me tell you, you know what? Well, I can't say that I have a lot of friends, but I do have a lot of acquaintances and buddies. Well, okay, I have a lot of buddies and an enormous number of acquaintances. And I'm talking about hundreds of people, and I've never seen a single one of them, first of all, with any tattoos, or someone falling down, or anyone walking around with flags, or glorifying banderism in any way. And honestly, I don't understand. Well, maybe it's really just online. Online, it's all bots and so on. And the fringe of society uses anonymity online, and that's why they spill out everything they've been bottling up inside. Or maybe it's really what you would call a full-scale situation. Yeah, by the way, that's also where the letter was. I said, damn, some signatures started being collected, like, let's stop all of this. I wrote to him in the comments, that's it guys, it's too late now, it's all over, the genie is out of the bottle. Some Polish guy wrote something to me in the comments, like, what's up farting in the power line, like some nonsense. Well, classic Polish intelligentsia. I said, well, this is exactly what I was talking about, dear comrade. No signatures will fix your rudeness if your level of culture is rock bottom. That's just how it is. Only mass imprisonments will save the motherland. Friends, that's the information for now. Please leave a like and write your comments. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. That's all for now. Yes, take care of yourselves and your loved ones. And if you have the chance, don't speak loudly in Ukrainian or Russian, because you could get hit for it. I'm not trying to scare anyone. God forbid. I wish you only good health and all the very best. But now, at this time, you need to be careful, because the 11th is coming up. So just be careful. That's all. Share your city, like, and comment where you watched. It's important. See you next time.